guys, we're gonna go first camping trip in the Sienna. We're up in what's called the Spring Mountains right now. I'm with my buddy Paul, as you can see in front of me. He's that was the camper shell I made. Gosh, what was that? Was that last year? I think. Anyways, or maybe it was the beginning part of this year. I don't remember now. But so I live in the Las Vegas, Nevada area, as I'm sure most of you guys who watch the channel know. And it's obviously desert. I think the valley floor right now is probably just under 100, but up here, at least according to my car, we're sitting at 72 degrees. So we're up probably around 8,000 feet or so. And just this is, so far looks like a pretty well-maintained gravel road. But Spring Mountains, so one thing, if you don't live out west, that you might not realize is that the west by and whole, or the southwest specifically, is very, very mountainous. And these mountains, as they go in elevation, the temperature drops and you get trees. So right here we're in what we would call solidly a pinyon woodland juniper zone. If you go a little higher, you'll get into really big trees, you know, like probably a classic pine forest, like most of you guys are thinking. And the Spring Mountains actually has their highest named peak is Mount Charleston, which tops out at just under 12,000 feet, which is actually, you know, that's respectable. That's pretty high. And up at the top of Mount Charleston, you actually have an alpine zone where you have no trees. So they call these mountain ranges little islands, because they're like little islands of, you know, vegetation and so forth that you know, you wouldn't see down at the valley floors where it's hotter, you know, where it's just basically desert. So specifically where we're at now, heading to our campsite. It was an hour from my house, so door to this spot now. So it's kind of amazing that I could go from, you know, let's just say 100 degrees all the way up to 70 degrees, so drop about 30 degrees, maybe 28 degrees, and be up in where the trees are. And the Spring Mountains is a pretty sizable range, I guess you would say, for the area. You know, lots of named peaks. Mount Charleston, like I said, is the highest of which. And another interesting phenomena is, you know, there is rivers, obviously, in the desert. And a lot of those rivers, their origin points, or maybe tributaries that feed larger rivers like the Colorado, come from mountain ranges like this. But another phenomena that you will see is, you know, because there's a fair snowpack that gets dropped up here in the Spring Mountains, is that you will actually see so there's no river coming down from the Spring Mountains, but hence the name, and kind of what made Vegas what Vegas is if a river doesn't come down, you will have flows of water underground, and in the valley floors you will have natural springs that will arise. And that was the case of the Las Vegas Valley. In fact, Las Vegas in Spanish, as I'm told, means the meadows. And back in the day, it was before it was what it is now, it was a railroad stop to get water, and there was a bunch of natural springs down in the Las Vegas Valley. And they were, there's a couple ranges that surround the Las Vegas Valley, but arguably a lot of that water was sourced from snowpacks up in mountains like this that percolated its way through underground over, you know, I don't know, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, I'm not sure. And eventually, when it hits the valley floor, comes up as a spring. So a little bit of knowledge there if you're not familiar with the West. But I'll pop back in when we hit our campsite here, which, from what I understand, is just about 2 or 3 miles down this road, which the Sienna is handling well. But as you guys can see, this is a pretty minor road here, pretty well maintained gravel road, nothing too dramatic. All right, I think we're close to the camp spot. I'm following Paul's lead, but this is a great example of kind of showing that concept of the desert island. If you guys look way out there in the distance, Now we got some trees there, but look way out there. You can zoom in a little bit. That is the desert floor, and we're obviously up here looking at it. All right, let's see. I think we found a spot here. All right, you might have a little wind noise here and there, so just bear with me, but I wanted to capture this moment. So we're up at the campsite here, and there's this little high outcropping that we can climb on top of. Let me show you where our camp is. So there's Paul and I down there, and that little road you see there, that's what we rolled in on, that dirt road. But let me show you what we got going on out here. So about what should be centered in the frame, you guys can see that dry lake bed. Let's zoom in a little bit. And there's not much to see right here, but I believe it's right down there in that saddle just beyond that. Or just at least generally in that area, because it's a spread out base, is Creech Air Force Base. And if you guys don't know, Creech Air Force Base, that's C-R-E-E-C-H, is, as I understand it, a drone base, and primarily that's where a lot of the drones, like the Global Hawks and the Predators and things like that the U.S. have that are flying all over the world, are piloted out of Creech. Now, I'm sure there's other locations, and I don't know what those are, but that's the whole point of Creech. Because if you guys don't know, Las Vegas itself has a pretty sizable and notable Air Force base called Nellis Air Force Base. I think it's either the home of, or at least houses some F-22s, but it's also the entry point into the national, national secure, basically, the national test site where, Groom Lake is supposed to be, and Tonopah's test range, and, where they had tested a lot of nuclear weapons in the past. So right here in the southern Nevada area, there's a lot of interesting military history. But in addition to Nellis, there is this Creech Air Force Base, which is right out there. So tonight, we're going to set our chairs here and just see if we can find or see something very interesting, because if any of you guys are interested in the lore of it, I'm probably off, but in a very broad sense, roughly directly straight out from where this camera image is, probably over that distal mountain range would be Area 51/Groom Lake, or at least the general area. I don't know the exact compass coordinates, but it's going to be, generally speaking, in that direction. So kind of a neat area. And what a beautiful view right here. That other range across there that you guys see, that's called the Sheep Range, I believe. Whole different mountain range in the Spring Mountains. All right, I'm just going to see if we can catch it. Oh, I got it. Got it. Did you see that?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
On the other side of the base, you think?
Yeah, it looked like it was in that dry lake bed.
Ooh.
Oh!
Oh, good one.
Dude, this is some pretty sweet footage. And that was a pretty significant explosion, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let me narrate this here. What if you guys look real closely, we're looking at that same area where you saw the explosions. There's these rapid, like kind of a bright sequential flash of light. I'm not sure how well it doesn't actually look like it's popping up here, but right there, you guys can see a few right there. Take a look at those. So what's interesting is these were flashing over that drone base. No colored indicators, and it was just a real rapid flash. Now, this is a screen from FlightAware, which is a app that would allow you to pick up transponder information that commercial aircraft and military aircraft would normally give off. So, it's very common, people can track flights and this kind of thing. But what's interesting is what we're looking at out here. These are clearly aircraft. They're moving around and you guys can see them. There you go. They're real clear here. You guys can see them in different configurations, but they're giving off no transponder data. It's very interesting. It almost looks like some of those might be at ground level, but they aren't on all the time because we've been looking out there, and this is the same general area of where those explosion footage was. So I don't know, very strange. I mean, I'm assuming it's some sort of military traffic. If you guys look, they're going to line up here in a little bit and kind of head to the south. I guess this would be like the southwest there. But very interesting. Definitely some aircraft traffic over the base. No transponders. Of course, I'm sure they're training. Wow, it's a beautiful morning. It's turned out to be a really, really nice spot here. Slept well in the van. Has been working out nicely. Heard a few coyotes out here, yelping and doing their various calls last night. Just a beautiful area. So right out there, straight out where we looked, up in that little dry lake bed, that's where we would have seen those explosions. I was noticing, I was talking about how this is pinyon juniper woodland. This side right here, this is a kind of like the northeast side of this little section of the mountain here. You can see these are some pretty big trees, so the rest of a lot of this, I mean, these aren't small. They're probably, I don't know, maybe 20, 25 feet tall down here, but yeah, definitely getting into classic forest here. Just gorgeous out there, though. All right, so the trip is over. Van did wonderful. It's not the first time I've camped in it, but I don't really have any feedback. I was real happy with the layout and everything. I mean, this off-road driving is nothing extreme, but the van did wonderful. I mean, not even a hint of concern in terms of traction or clearance or anything. And I really like the sleep setup. I've been thinking about how I'm going to lay out Sienna build 2.0, I guess we can officially call it, with the red one. And, I want to do some things differently, not because anything is wrong with this, but just to try some new stuff. But, it's hard because this setup works so well. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. It was a good camping trip. Saw some interesting stuff out there at Creech Air Force Base. And, yeah, I'll catch up with you guys on the next one. If you guys are curious, from my door back to the campsite and back, I averaged 22.63 miles per gallon.